God is an astronaut. Torsten Kinsella joining me on the Friday Night Rock Show on Radio Nova. Thanks a mil for sitting down with me.
It's a pleasure, Vicky. Thanks for having me on.
And delighted to have you. As I said, off air there, we were having the old personal technical chats, and we were trying to get to grips because we're doing it remotely. But we got the hang of it in the end. It doesn't matter when you're musical; you don't have to be technical. That's the way I look at it.
Exactly, yeah.
So listen, really excited to have you on the show ahead of what can be described as a huge European tour that's kicking off in Germany next week. But what I'm really interested in, huge headline gig in the Academy, Friday, the 3rd of April. It's going to be huge. Tell me what the fans can expect from the gig.
Well, we have quite a lot in store. So we're bringing all our latest lights that we've invested in. So you can expect an interesting lighting show for starters. We're also looking into a visual screen for the show as well. That's still being, I guess, negotiated, but that we're looking good. We have also Jo Quayle. She's a fantastic cello player from the UK. She's going to be opening up the show, and then she's going to be playing a couple of songs with us as well. So that's always amazing to have her play our songs. Then there's going to be a special guest from Gaz Carr, who played with us for many years, and some listeners might remember the group Butterfly Explosion. So he's going to be on playing a couple of songs with us as well. So it's a bit of a different show.
That's huge. Like the logistics of that show alone, like the lighting and the tech and everything, and then all the different guests. But Joe features on the latest album, doesn't she? Like herself and the collaboration on the latest single, because there's a lot of collaboration in terms of sound and instruments lately, isn't there? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I guess I just have to tell a little backstory. My father, it was a lot of his ideas for a lot of the guest instruments, and normally when my dad says things, maybe you could throw a bit of sitar in, and I was thinking, it's a bit too much trouble, you know. Fortunately, on November 28th, 2023, he suddenly passed away in the back garden here, and it was a whole album essentially changed as a kind of a tribute to him and in his memory. And I felt I needed to honor every idea that he had. So we contacted Dara O'Brien in Cork, who's a fantastic sitar player, and he was really upbeat about the idea. And we sent him, some of the demos that we had at the time, and we'd bounce back and forth, and really just exceeded our expectations what he came up with. And Joe Quayle, of course, we sent some cello over to Joe. Another friend of mine, Sean Coleman, who had done work with the Eels, he put some kind of ethnic, kind of weird instruments together
Yeah.
for us as well. And what else we had? Yeah, we had some kind of some experimental sounds that we included ourselves as well. Different kinds of bowed instruments and different things like that. Bowed psalteries, which actually I should say that Dara O'Brien put in as well. So yeah, it was a bit of a. I added acoustic guitar in. That was one thing that I always try. I usually write on the acoustic guitar, but I don't really incorporate it into the final product. But I remember my father, Tommy, he'd say to me, "You should have kept the acoustic in. It sounds nearly better." So
Mhm.
I kept those in. I even played on his old acoustic guitar as well, just to kind of really kind of make it something extra special. And I think he would have been pleased with the record.
Absolutely. I think Dad would be over the moon with the final result. And I think as well, it adds so much more to the album, the story behind it, because even listening to the album, listening to the acoustic guitar and the different sounds, like there's such for instrumental music, the emotional power behind it is quite something. And now to know the story, it kind of explains that electricity from the sound. Like it is an amalgamation of all these different sounds, but it lifts you to a different sphere. So to see it live, I think that is going to be a feast for the senses for anyone that goes to the gig.
Yeah, no, we've spent nearly the same amount of time on the live set as we do on the record, so we've
Yeah.
worked really, really, really hard on it. So we're very, very pleased. One of the songs, obviously, we'll be opening with is a song called "Falling Leaves," which is literally describing, I guess, my witnessing of my father's last moments. It was such a strange, strange feeling. You kind of, he dropped dead from a heart attack, but at the time we thought we could resuscitate him. And it was the strangest thing because I remember being onto the emergency services and the everything just went into slow motion, like I was in shock. And in the back of my head, everything became dull. The voice, I guess I felt like I was going to faint, but everything went into slow motion, and it was the weirdest feeling of everything just leaves. That it was a windy day, everything's just going in slow motion, and this kind of voice telling me it's okay, let me go. It was the weirdest thing, and I just felt I had to capture that kind of feel, that whole moment, with that song "Falling Leaves." So that kind of really shaped, the whole album. At the end, we shelved a lot of the material that we had written for it, and it just kind of took a different approach. But we'll still be playing a lot of the older songs as well on this show. We'll be playing all the ones that, it's the 20-year anniversary of our album, A Moment of Stillness. So we'll be playing Frozen Twilight, which we just remastered there recently. And yeah, so they can expect not just the new album, but a lot of the old stuff as well.
Yeah. The ones that, the new albums are always great, but there are those songs that you know and love, like Frozen, Twilight, and all. Like you need those because they're waiting on them. Do you know what I mean? Just with regard to the writing process, then, like yourself and your brother, it must have been incredibly, after all that, incredibly emotional and also maybe therapeutic for you to do the album after your dad passed. Like it must have been just an experience that you'll never have again, you know?
It kind of helped me get through it completely. I remember
Mm.
even just a couple of hours after he'd passed away, coming back into my studio here, just in shock. And my wife came in to me and said, "Would you not come upstairs and we'd have a chat about this? And try to, it's not healthy for you to be on your own." I said, "No, I kind of just need to be on my own."
Yeah.
And I just grabbed his acoustic guitar and I started playing, and it was my way of kind of dealing with the whole thing. And when I felt I had something, I went upstairs and I played it for everybody, and they were kind of everybody was just quiet, and I knew there was something I'd captured something special in those opening chords. And but it was surreal, and I thought it would just be a moment of grief, but it wasn't. It was so much gratitude that I had for what he'd given us in our career. Without my dad, Tommy, people that know the band intimately will know this. Without him, there would not be a God as an Astronaut. He literally was the hidden member of the band. He was involved himself in the music business in the '60s with the Orange Machine and into the show band scene and all that. But he kind of he had, and then he went into the carpet business for a while, and then he ended his last 20 years was basically managing the band and really just helping us to succeed where we are today. So it was just a lot of gratitude for what he'd given us, and I wanted to capture that as well in the music because we're forever in his debt.
Yeah, I definitely think you did. I mean, listening to the tracks, as I said, the instrumental music that you produce, like it is so powerful, even without the lyric. And I suppose one interesting question that I had jotted down for you is like, in terms of interpretation, everybody interprets a song with lyrics, very differently, but very similar. What is the kind of most surprising interpretation a fan or somebody has ever given you to a song, or have you got one in mind?
Yeah, I remember in general, sometimes people would come up to me and say a song like "Suicide by Star" is very uplifting to them, and I'd find that always quite humorous. And so that's interesting. And I don't want to spoil their interpretation of the song
Yeah.
either. A lot of people find it quite uplifting, our music, which for me, a lot of it is kind of. I usually write better when I'm in a darker kind of headspace, and a lot of that music usually makes the it makes the cut where the happier ones tend to never make it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's interesting. A lot of people come up to me and say that our music has helped them through very tough times, and I find that kind of surprising, and I'm
Yeah.
happy that it has helped them. But that, yeah, it's always there's as our music is open to interpretation. We're not. That's why I kind of like to be cryptic with the song titles, so we're not necessarily telling them it's about this. There's only one album that was different, which was the Epitaph album. People are going to be listening to this, going to say, "Well, this guy is coming from a place of real misery and darkness." But this one was, yeah, it was inspired by, and I won't go into too much detail with it, but it was inspired by my 7-year-old cousin who sadly passed away, which is the Epitaph record. That was the only one where I felt this can't be kind of open to interpretation, but everything else is essentially open to interpretation.
Yeah. Well, like music is that way. Like it's open to interpretation, and you creating the music, then it's nearly you're putting it out into the world for people. It's really free therapy for people. I always say that music finds itself in grief, it finds itself in happiness, it finds itself in elation, disappointment. And for me, as a musician and music lover, I've always have a song for a certain point in my life or how I felt at that moment. And every time I hear the song, I'm immediately back to that moment in life. And it must be an incredible feeling to know that your music is doing that for so many people. Do you know?
It is, and you're right. That's the magic of music, isn't it?
Yeah.
It can transport you, back to a memory, back in time, back to a place, a good place.
Mm.
Hopefully not a bad place, but that happens as well. People say, "Oh, my ex used to listen to this music and I hate them," so that happens too. But no, it is great that our music, has resonated with people, and all I try to do is try to write something that matters to me, and if it matters to me, it might matter to somebody else. That's kind of my guess, at least.
Yeah, and what a great place to be coming from when creating music. I mean, I said this to you off air there as well. And 20, you formed in 2002, 24 years later, and here we are talking about new material and a European tour that you're about to embark on. How does it feel looking back at those younger boys in 2002 and Dad Tommy and going, I want to do this instrumental alt rock thing, and everyone else looking at you going, what? You know what I mean? And here you are 24 years later and thriving, and people still chomping at the bit for your new music.
I honestly, we always had a good belief in our music, but we didn't think it was really going to last this long for us. I can remember still. There'd be kind of like relatives coming over to the house and going, are they still at that music thing? That is just they're never going to get anywhere with that. And then, we remember talking to a publisher at the time, some were kind of going away from the vocal stuff, going into instrumental. Oh, Jesus, you're finished, lads.
Yeah, you're
So
done. You're done.
we're finished. So we were very kind of happy, that it's. I guess what we felt was, let's do something that we like and let's see where it takes us. And at least there's no regrets. Because up until that point, especially in the late '90s, we were thinking, what can we make that a record company might sign? That was kind of the
Yeah.
ideology behind it. But that got us absolutely nowhere. So the question we then asked ourselves, let's write. Why don't we write something that we like?
Mm.
And see what happens. And that seemed to work for us. Now it is luck. There's a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, talent rises to the top and all the rest of it." Not necessarily. There's so many good groups that I've seen over the years that didn't get there, and so a luck is a big part of it.
Mm.
Being there's so many great music that's happened over the years, as I said, that didn't really get where it deserved to go. And so we are very humbled and we feel very, very lucky. And as I said, my father gave us the opportunity to try as long as we did, and I'm glad that we're here talking about it.
Yeah. And also it ebbs and flows. I always say that to people. There's so many young bands out there. Like, if you're a lifer, as I say, you're committed to it for life. It can ebb and flow, but once it's always in you, the music will stay, like, so that's kind of we're the same on that. I think once you're a musician, you're
Yes.
always a musician. It doesn't matter whether it's good or you're like Tommy going to lay the carpets for a few years and then coming back, to manage the band. But I just have one more question before I let you go. I'll just remind the listeners, though, there are some tickets available, not many. So to get on and book now, they can book online. The Academy, 3rd of April, get some tickets there. It's going to be a feast for the senses. And then, if not, check out check out the website and see where you're gigging in Europe. If they fancy an L weekend away, they can do that as
Yeah,
well.
they can, and we're in Cork as well. If they missed that one as well on the 5th, to down in Cork.
Oh, you're in the Cork on the 5th. Brilliant. So we've two Irish dates if they don't fancy getting
Yeah.
on the plane or the ferry. Brilliant. I have one more question for you. After so many albums and so many years, you were once described as a post-rock band by somebody. Do you feel like you've kind of evolved out of that
Yeah,
description?
yeah, I remember when we first came out. Actually, it was funny. We released the album, The End of the Beginning, and I remember some critics saying, "God is an astronaut, God is a DJ." I was thinking, oh, and I remember as a promoter, a good friend of ours, Steve O'Baruby, he was saying to me, "Oh, that dance thing is a killer, guys." So when post rock came around and we started getting mentioned as a post rock group, initially it was a great, a great step forward, and I would say, because we were lumped in with that whole third wave of post rock or whatever you call it, it did help us tremendously, I have to say. But we never wrote music to be in post rock. And
Mm.
I think that's why maybe we've lasted longer than a lot of the other groups, because we weren't kind of governed by the rules of post rock. Certainly there is parts of it in our music, but I think overall we're not trying to be a post-rock band. We're just trying to make music that resonates with us and do what we feel we do best, which is essentially keeping it vocal free, really. And that's the way I look at it.
Well, I love it, and I'm a singer, and I shouldn't love it because I should be looking for the vocals, and I really love it. I find it very therapeutic
Thank you.
listening to you guys, and I hope to make it to the gig. I did say I only had one more question, but I lied. It is
Okay.
St. Patrick's weekend here on Radio Nova, and as tradition, we always tip our cap to the legendary Irish rock musicians that have gone before us, and we're looking into the 50 greatest Irish rock songs of all
Okay.
time. They have lyrics, though. Torsten's the only
Of course,
thing.
that's no worry at all. Yeah,
I'm
most of the
wondering,
stuff I listen to. Yeah,
do you have a favorite? And I can play it for you on the Friday Night Rock Show right now.
my favorite Irish band, I'd have to say it's Whipping Boy. I'm
Oh, yeah.
very good friends with Fergal and the guys. Um, And the song that I've been listening to, it always changes. That's the thing for me. It changes all the time with that band. The honeymoon is over. The honeymoon is over is a song that I really really enjoy listening to on the tour bus. So that would be the one I'd pick.
So the honeymoon is over, whipping boy.
Yeah.
Torsten from God. God is a DJ, I was going to say. From God is an astronaut. Thank you so much. And here's
Thank you,
that song
baby.
for you on the Friday Night Rock Show on Nova.